Cześć, z tej strony ja, Gaspi 119 na kolejnym filmie z Army 3 jako kampania pozostałości wojenne, kampania pseudopacyfisty. Co mam kurwa zrobić? Okej, czyli idziemy najpierw tam. Pseudopacyfisty, gdzie zbieramy pozostałości wojenne po wojnie domowej i wielkiej wojnie na Altis. O, tu jest coś. Chyba, żebym jeszcze mógł tu wejść. O, tutaj.
Okay, road's safe now. Bring the van on up.
Will do. Also, Mac, the NATO guys, they've kicked in all the doors. You're free to search inside the buildings now.
Got it. At least I can get out of the fucking rain. I'll come find you in a bit.
Have fun reminiscing.
Okej, najpierw idziemy tam. Góry. Kampania pseudopacyfisty pojawiła pseudo dlatego, że w poprzedniej kampanii, znaczy w poprzedniej misji strzelaliśmy do...
Morning. You been in?
You kidding me? I ain't going in there, man. That shit's all yours.
Where are you now?
Who, me? I'm exploring.
I can hear an echo.
Yeah, I'm in what used to be the mayor's place, actually. At least it was before the government forces took it over.
Tell me more about Staff Sergeant Adams. You met him on a previous deployment. That must have been in Generous, right?
No, actually, this was after I'd left the military. Previous deployment with IDAP, Pakistan. It must have been, God, 15 years ago? I think. Feels like another lifetime.
Okej, tutaj szkolenie widzę. Niezbyt ładnie spali.
I got a leaflet here. The army must have scattered thousands of these.
Propaganda.
Something like that. This one says, there's still time to surrender. Maybe a bad choice of words considering.
No, ciekawe co nowa misja nam przyniesie. To ciekawy sposób pokazywania misji, bo on teoretycznie wspomina to, co było. Zobaczymy.
Time to surrender. What's the context here?
This was last year, September. These leaflets, they were dropped maybe a day before the fighting began. You see, the guerrillas there, they'd found themselves a new leader. Charismatic, ex-military. For him, this was no time to surrender. Far from it. In fact, he used that time to rally his people, encourage them to resist, build defenses. Meanwhile, the army was setting up for a major offensive. The attack on Oreo Castro, it was no secret. Of course, after the leaflet drop, IDAP started to pull out of the town. So the little I do know, well, that brings us back to the brother. The one who disappeared.
Okej. Co mamy? O kurwa, to PD.
His name was Alexis. He volunteered to build the barricade. Town was his home, after all.
So, these leaflets, they're a warning to the town.
Yeah, they confirmed the offensive.
The government was concerned about civilian casualties.
Czas się
Don't
podać.
sound too surprised.
Okay.
So, NATO's message, do you think it was getting through? I mean, according to the laws of armed conflict, that's the principle of precaution, right?
Sure, maybe. Or maybe they were just sick of all the extra paperwork.
Szukamy samochodów. Robić barykadę.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. Just, I was thinking, he even took a local priest's car. I remember I was talking to Father Georgiopoulos, and he was actually very good about the whole thing.
How so?
Something about rich men and camels.
Help me out with some context here. This barricade.
I mean, it was crude, right?
Dobra.
A gap between two outcrops of rock, natural bottleneck. The guerrillas hoped to block the road by jamming it with vehicles. As for the vehicles in the barricade, the commission actually linked the plates to a number of locals. Of course, several were still missing after the incident, so the investigation made some assumptions.
A, że zginęli. Ja dalej szukam pojazdów, których chyba nie ma. To znaczy sprintem biegnę. Może nie. Tam jest bus, dobra. Bierzemy busa od razu. Cały czas pojedyncze strzały słychać.
Do you think Alexis, I don't know, thought twice about taking these vehicles?
Look, sure, these were his neighbors, but this was their home, and it was under attack. What would you do?
Driftem, busem. Okej. Próbuję jeszcze suwa. Okej, szukamy suwa. Co to ci... Tepło się auto, what the fuck. Podnie wiatr.
Hey, just a thought. You remember the earthquakes back then?
Yes, they were quite frequent. Were IDAP at all concerned about that?
Oh, yeah. Any kind of disaster relief on top of what we were dealing with, it would have just about finished itself completely.
Tyle magazynków. A, dwa, okej. Tam jest SUV, dobra.
These vehicles, I suppose all of them were
To
taken
jest
with their
BMK.
consent.
O kurwa.
Well, yeah, given the circumstances.
Bolid młodzieży wiejskiej.
The owners couldn't exactly refuse.
Right, but that's the thing. Never mind theft being illegal. The laws of armed conflict prohibit such actions.
Furgonetka się zespałniła gdzie indziej, nie? Uwielbiam to. Do wschodniego urwiska.
Stop me if this is a topic, but
O kurwa. Sorry,
I'd like to
przepraszam.
see for more information on the executions.
No, I mean, you're investigating war crimes. I'll tell you what I can.
Okay. How many were killed?
9.
And in your opinion, what did this violence achieve?
Nothing. All that, I don't know if it served
Chyba,
any
że to będzie tak wtedy.
If I understand it, you know about what happened through the brother. Alexis, was it? Did you meet him?
Not directly, but, you know, it's a small town, right? People knew Alexis. After what happened here, I talked to the locals. Found out what I could. The rest of what I know is pieced together from the commission report itself.
Actually, that incident report, the evidence you submitted, that's partly why I asked for the interview. I want to gain a human perspective.
Well, that's understandable. I mean, for a humanitarian commission, those reports tend to be,
A little detached. Yes.
Tak będzie i tym suwem tutaj dojedziemy i będzie dobrze.
After Alexis built the barricade, what then? Did he stay inside the town?
no, that's where the story gets more complicated. The barricade itself was later chained up and set on fire by someone else. I don't know quite who. Alexis, he headed west to lay mines.
Było pod ogniem włączone, nie przeczytałem co dokładnie. Zajęty patrzeniem, gdzie mam iść tak naprawdę. Na zachód miny rozłożyć. Dobra, na zachód miny rozłożyć to
Anti-tank
idziemy.
mines were already in the ground. If there's no pull fuse, and so long as they've not been stacked, they aren't too hard to remove. But Alexis, although he didn't use anti-handling devices, he did create a hybrid minefield.
AT mines. Mixed with APs.
That's it, yeah. He put anti-personnel mines around the anti-tank ones, made clearance all that much harder.
Ja mam miny w ekwipunku? Nie, a co ja mam zrobić? Weź miny przeciwpiechotne. Aha, okej. I muszę tak czy siak tam iść. Pewnie ekipa tam siedzi, już zgaduję. Już tam siedzą. Tak, już tu stoi. Typek jeden.
These mines, how did they get hold of them?
To jest. A, tu.
They got them when the government's outposts fell into guerrilla hands. Bounding mines. The type that leaps up a meter into the air before exploding. Nasty stuff. Hell, nowadays they're even made with plastic casing to throw off older types of mine detectors.
Ile mam min?
Lovely.
7.
Oh yeah, just do yourself a favor. Don't look up Bouncing Betty injuries online.
And they're still there?
Mm-hmm. And not for long. We're setting up our demining drones as we speak. You know, thinking about it, even if we had a record of...
Kurwa. Serio? Weź wczytaj. Zapis. Która godzina to była? Nie pierdol od początku. Nie gadaj, że od początku. Nie, dobra, od
They
tego
got them when
momentu.
the government's
To jest te
outposts
kurwa
fell into
trzęsienie
guerrilla
ziemi. Dobra,
hands.
trzeba się spieszyć.
Bounding mines. The type that leaps up a meter into the air before exploding. Nasty stuff.
A nie, dobra, nie mogę przechodzić przez te miny jednak. Jest kurwa głupi, biegnę po minach, kurwa, biegam po minach. Bo jeszcze, to moje, tak jak kurwa w Call of Duty, moja mina mi nie wybuchnie, nie? To jednak nie. Dobra, co mi tu
They got them when
wybuchło?
the government's outposts fell into guerrilla hands. Bounding mines. The type that leaps up a meter into the air before exploding. Nasty stuff. Hell, nowadays they're even made with plastic casing to...
And they're still there?
Mm-hmm. And not for long. We're setting up our demining drones as we speak.
Przez to, żeby tu już rozbrajaliśmy to, nie?
You know, thinking about it, even if we had a record of where Alexis's mines were, it may not do much good.
No? I thought minefield maps were a key part of your work.
Most folks don't realize, but landmines, they don't stay put. Heavy rain, landslides. Alexis proved to be quite the combat engineer. He placed the mines exactly as he'd been shown.
So, moving on, where did Alexis go next?
He took a quad bike up to the castle behind the town.
The castle? Why?
He was needed at the guerrillas' base camp.
Okay, his group were running things from up at the castle.
Mm-hmm. And I see what you're getting at. Yeah, Geneva Convention's cultural objects, I think.
Okej. Zapiszmy grę.
The barricade. There wasn't any way around it then.
From the road? No, well, not unless you cut through the compound.
Dobra, jedziemy. Ciekawa taka misja, niby spokojna, ale już 2 razy zginęliśmy. Bo wylazło się na minę.
Maybe a technical question.
Go ahead.
In these situations, do those involved commonly record the locations of minefields?
That's a tough one. Take this situation, for example. I'm convinced Alexis would have made a record. It's his home, after all. But do we have access to that information? No. And that's the problem. Things, information, people, landmines, they get lost in the fog of war.
Okej.
But that's the thing about landmines. Lost or not, they stick around. They wait to be found.
To jest mądre słowo, że miny tak czy siak czekają, aż ktoś je znajdzie. Ktoś sobie kliknie na tą minę i ona wypierdoli w powietrze.
Do you feel these preparations made a difference?
In the short term, I do, yeah. The barricade held. The government's tanks were knocked out on the road.
And in the long term?
I'd go on, but as you may have heard, it's getting kind of loud here.
By the sounds of it, you've got your hands full.
This'll only take a minute. Be right back.
Okej. To jest taki misja w misjach, nie? Widać tutaj różnicę pomiędzy tym ładnym Altis, a tym zniszczonym, co my teraz jesteśmy w deszczu. No.
Bet you wish we had one of those in Pakistan, huh?
I gotta admit, that's 60 tons of getting shit done.
Ale wyjebało tego hatchbacka, widzieliście to? Dobra, idziemy sobie. Tego wyjebało.
Oh, by the way, while you were busy chatting to, well, whoever that is that isn't your wife.
I told you, Andy, she's a journalist. Get to the point.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I assembled the demining drones.
Both of them?
Well, yeah. They're by the van.
Dobra, ale zanim, to jeszcze chciałbym podejść tutaj. W to miejsce. Aby przejść do tych innych etapów jeszcze, zanim zaczniemy robić te drony. Tu u góry widzę jeszcze jedną rzecz do sprawdzenia sobie.
Whole families, you know?
What's that, Nathan?
Sorry, I'm talking to myself. Old habit. Just this whole mess.
The war.
Everything. I focus on my work, get the job done, but now and again, it's hard not to think what happened to the folks here.
Szkoda. Naprawdę ta kampania pokazuje, że wojna to nie przelewki. Dobrze, moi drodzy, ale tą wspominką zakończę ten odcinek. Następną naszą misją zrobioną przez nas będzie stolarnia. Pójdziemy sobie do stolarni, czyli a nie wiem gdzie. O tam gdzieś. O tam pójdziemy do stolarni i tam zaczniemy kolejną misję. I jak zrobimy te wszystkie pytajniki, wtedy pójdziemy do głównej części naszego zadania, czyli rozminować ten cały region. Więc ja się będę z wami żegnał. Na razie, cześć i do widzenia.